Rebirth of the Scales. Chapter 1, The Fate of Weakness. Fan Kinjao grew up in a family full of indifference and prejudice. Her father, Fan Haoding, was a typical patriarchal, while her mother silently endured her father's oppression. Fan Kinjao's existence is nothing more than superfluous for this family. Her brother Fan Tianyu has been the darling of the family since he was a child, and no matter what he does, his family will hold him up to the sky. In contrast, Fan Kinjao's growth process was full of countless grievances and injustices. She doesn't have many friends, and her personality has become introverted and weak because of this. Whenever she is faced with unfair treatment, she always chooses to endure silently and does not dare to resist. One day after school, she was walking home with her school bag on her back as usual. Suddenly, a group of school thugs appeared in front of her, pointing at her and saying unpleasant words. Fan Kinjao wanted to bow her head and escape, but she was powerless to change her situation. At this moment, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of her. The man was 1.88 meters tall, wearing a simple black coat, slightly long hair, and a strong aura in his eyes. He clenched his fist in one hand and instantly scattered the thugs in all directions, even slamming one of them on the head, causing him to fall to his knees. Fan Qingzhen was stunned and stood still looking at him. "You? What are you doing?" she whispered, her heart full of bewilderment. "I'll help you." The boy smiled and looked relaxed. "My future mother, I'm here to protect you." "Your future mother?" Fan Kinjao's eyes widened, and then she couldn't help but dial the phone of the mental hospital. The other party smiled and glanced at her. "Yes, your future son." He patted Fan Kinjao's head lightly. "You have time to go to my house for dinner." Fan Kinjao was stunned and didn't know how to react. She looked at this fearless boy, as if nothing would hurt him, and an inexplicable anxiety suddenly rose in her heart. Chapter 2, The Domineering Future Son. In the next few days, Fan Kinjao found that this boy seemed to be completely dependent on her. Not only did he appear near the school every day, but he also began to secretly protect her, making Fan Kinjao wonder what kind of power he was drawn into this chaotic whirlpool. Once, Fan Kinjao was on her way home from school when she was suddenly blocked by a group of school thugs. She couldn't resist and could only stand there helplessly, her heart racing. However, suddenly, she heard an angry roar. The boy appeared in front of her like a ghost, punched the first thug away, and then quickly eliminated the rest of the people one by one. He moved quickly and without mercy, instantly making those villains powerless to resist. Fan Kinjao's eyes widened. "You? How is it so harmful?" The boy tidied up his clothes and smiled slightly. "This is all to protect you, after all, my future mother can't be hurt so easily." Fan Kinjao shook her head, her heart full of doubts. "Who are you? Why are you always there for me?" The boy approached her softly and whispered, "You'll know." He then turned and walked away briskly, as if it were all a breeze for him. Fan Kinjao had no choice but to rub her hair helplessly, not knowing how to deal with such a situation. However, what made Fan Kinjao feel even more headache was that when she returned home, she found that her younger brother Fan Tianyu began to call and drink at her again, with an extremely disrespectful attitude. Fan Kinjao wanted to be patient, but the dissatisfaction in her heart became stronger and stronger. At this time, the boy appeared again. He not only interrupted Fan Tianyu's ridicule, but also grabbed Fan Tianyu's collar violently, hung him high outside the window, and said in a cold tone, "If you dare to speak disrespectfully to her, I will let you hang here for an hour." Fan Tianyu panicked, his eyes widened, and he begged in horror, "Let me go, I'm wrong." The boy was not moved in the slightest, and it was not until Fan Tianyu was so frightened that he was about to faint, and then he slowly put him down. Fan Kinjao was shocked in her heart. What kind of existence is this person? Why, his behavior is so domineering, but yet it is impossible to refute. Chapter 3, Gold Medal Fighter and ATM. As time passed, Fan Kinjao discovered that this boy was not only her protector, but also occasionally became her gold medal fighter and ATM machine. One day, Fan Kinjao went to the mall to buy something, but found that she had lost her wallet. She was so anxious that she was about to turn away when the boy suddenly appeared and handed her a stack of bills. "Take it," he said coldly. "Don't worry, I'll go to him again if it's gone." Fan Qingzhen looked at him suspiciously. "Who are you looking for?" The boy smiled, and there was a hint of skin in his eyes. "My husband, my father." Fan Kinjao was stunned, her mouth opened wide. "What? What?" Only then did she realize that the father mentioned by this person turned out to be the rumored first in the school, the donor who brought money into the school and most of the school's teaching buildings, Fan Haoding's entrepreneur son, the high-flying male protagonist? Fan Kinjao couldn't help but wonder in her heart, how could she have such a connection with this male protagonist? Could it be that behind all this, there is a shocking secret? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4, The Passing of Rebirth. The identity of the boy has always been a mystery that Fan Kinjao can't solve. He is always subtly present in her life, and he is always with her wherever she is. Fan Kinjao gradually discovered that he was not just a future son, and there seemed to be a more complex story behind it. One day, the boy suddenly said to her, "I noticed a strange phenomenon, I went back in time." Fan Kinjao couldn't help but be stunned. Back in the past? You mean? You went back to when my mother was young? The boy nodded slightly, and a complicated look flashed in his eyes. That's right, I came here to change something. Your mother was too weak back then, and her fate was controlled by countless people. I want to change her future, protect her, and clean up those who bullied her. Fan Kinjao was shocked in her heart. You? How do you know this? The boy took a deep breath and frowned slightly. In fact, I am not just your future son, I have a more important identity. I blocked the relationship between you and the male protagonist, because I don't allow you to give birth to me too early. Fan Kinjao's heart beat faster. What did you say? The boy looked at her coldly. You are only high school students, I don't allow you to give birth to me so early. Chapter 5, The Fabric of Fate. Fan Kinjao's heart beat like a drum, and she couldn't believe what she heard. The boy in front of him actually said that he was the future son, and even prevented the relationship between her and the male protagonist, because he didn't want him to appear too early. She was stunned, her eyes widening. You? Who are you? Why? The boy looked at her, and a trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. Actually, this is not what I want to do. I know you can't understand it now, but I never wanted it to happen. I want to change something, for you and for myself. Fan Kinjao stared at him in confusion, and these words made her even more confused. She originally thought that she was just living in an ordinary family and living a trouble-free life, but now, everything has turned her worldview upside down. She was silent for a moment and asked in a low voice, "If I accept your explanation, what will my future hold? What exactly do you want to change?" The boy's gaze became deeper and his tone was low. "I know that you have lived in a patriarchal family since you were a child, and your fate has always been contained, and no one has ever really cared about you. Your mother's past has also been despised by countless people because of her weakness. But if I can change your mother's fate and make her no longer weak, maybe your life will go in a different direction." Fan Kinjao's heart set off waves. She never thought that the root of all this came from her mother's choice and past decisions. And the boy in front of her seems to be the only one who can change her fate. "So you? Is it really my future son?" Fan Kinjao couldn't help but ask, with a bit of confusion and uncertainty in her tone. The boy nodded slightly, with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "Yes, but this is not the most important thing. On top of that, it's all back in time. I had to make your mother make the right choice when she was young." Fan Kinjao was confused. She had always thought that her fate was irreversible, but now she was told that she could change the past, and even change her mother's fate. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6, Images of the Past. As time went by, Fan Kinjao's life became more and more weird. The boy, who called himself her future son, not only continued to guard her, but also began to teach her something very unusual. He takes her into areas she has never set foot in, whether it's a power struggle in school or a difficult choice in life, he always lends a hand and doesn't hesitate. But Fan Kinjao always has a question in her heart that remains unsolved. How did her mother's past change? Why was this boy able to go back in time, and why did he always emphasize protecting her? One day, the boy took Fan Kinjao to a secret place. It is an old library, with historic paintings on the walls and shelves full of books. The boy pointed to one of the shabby books and said in a calm tone, "This book records your mother's past, and even contains everything she went through back then." Fan Kinjao took the book and turned the pages. The handwriting in the book is blurred, and there are vague descriptions of her mother's youth. She saw a weak girl, Fan Xiang'er, living in a family full of patriarchal values. Her mother sees her as a burden, while her father, Fan Haoding, is dedicated to Fan Tianyu's love and attention. However, in this past, Fan Xiang'er was not blindly weak, she had the courage to resist once. She once loved someone, but eventually chose to let go because of family pressure. Her life is like a silent struggle. "This is your mother." The boy's voice sounded again. Her past is full of pain, but also full of hope. If she had been stronger, maybe her fate would have changed. That's why I came back. Fan Kinjao suddenly felt that her heart had become heavy, and she began to understand the boy's determination. He doesn't just want to change her future, but he wants to change the fate of a woman so that she doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past. So, what does my future hold? Fan Kinjao asked softly. The boy was silent for a moment, and then replied softly, your future will no longer be bound by those constraints. You will find your own direction and make your own choices. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 7, Preventing the Future from Happening. Time passed like flowing water, and Fan Kinjao gradually became stronger and stronger under the guidance of this mysterious boy. She began to stop putting up with injustice and began to dare to fight for her rights. She is no longer the weak girl who has been bullied and silently endured, but a woman with her own strength and decisions. However, the existence of boys is also always a mystery. Although he always obeyed her, whenever Fan Kinjao tried to get to the bottom of his past, he always cleverly avoided the topic. One day, Fan Kinjao finally couldn't help it and decided to have a deep talk with the boy. She stood in front of him and asked, why the hell are you changing all this? Do you really believe that I will be the one who will change my fate? The boy was silent for a long time, and a trace of complicated emotions flashed in his eyes. He looked down at Fan Kinjao and said in a low tone, I used to feel invincible all the time, but I found that only by your side can I truly understand what change is. You are the bravest girl I have ever met, and I am perhaps your guide on the path of growth. Fan Kinjao felt a warm current surging into her heart. This once domineering and ruthless boy actually had such a gentle side. She nodded slowly, finally understanding this story of intertwined fates, and also understood that her future was ultimately up to her. However, as her relationship with the boy became closer, Fan Kinjao found that a contradictory emotion began to emerge in her heart. Not only does she have to face the challenges that lie ahead, but she also has to untangle the intricate emotional entanglement between her and the boy. Will it be mother and son, or? She can't even imagine how the future will change.